been renewed for season 2. So in the show, Kate Hudson, who also executive produces, plays Isla Gordon. She's unexpectedly named team president of the Los Angeles Waves when her brother, played by Justin Theroux, is hit by a scandal. Isla has to prove to all the skeptics, including her family, the board, the players, and the fans, that she is the right person for the job. This comedy comes from the hit-making team of Mindy Kaling, Ike Barinholtz, and David Stassen, and also stars Brenda Song, Drew Tarver, and Scott MacArthur. Please join me in welcoming to the stage executive producer and starring as Isla Gordon, Kate Hudson. Co-creators, co-writers, and executive producers Mindy Kaling and Ike Barinholtz, and serving showrunner David Stassen.
You thought Billy Bob on Zoom was good.
So before we start talking about the show though, let's just roll a clip first. Moments from you in this show, I love it. So you're an LA girl, were you a Lakers fan forever? How much did you know about this world that's inspired by Jeannie Buss, president of the Lakers? The best.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you grew up in LA, you kind of have to be a Lakers fan. I mean, you could be a Clippers fan too, but you know, our family's Lakers. So yeah, I mean, I was never a big basketball fan. I grew up with Baron Davis. We were in the same grade in high school, and he went to go play pro. So I feel like I learned a lot about basketball from him. But other than that, I was always a football girl. So this was a fun new world to get into, and thanks to Stassen, who loves basketball, and Brenda Song, I feel like I really got like I have people who can school me and give me some tips.
Did you meet Jeannie?
Oh yeah, I've known Jeannie when I was 14. We were big Kings family. They're actually playing right now, the Kings. But yeah, it was the golden era, like the Gretzky era of Los Angeles Kings, and Jeannie ran the Forum Club, and I was a very naughty teenager. And I liked going into the Forum Club and seeing if I could get drinks, but this was when I was a little bit older. And she would always make sure that, you know, she always kept a watchful eye on me. And the other day she actually showed me all these pictures she has of me at like 18. And I was like, where did you get these pictures? She's like full on blackmail. But yes, I've known Jeannie, you know, more like that for years.
Mindy, tell us about how you lit on this story to tell as a kind of comedic take on LA life. And also, you know, I remember seeing you, I think it was at the Golden Globes this year, and you were talking about what a treat it was to work with Kate on this show. So can you speak to those things a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Jeannie Buss, she approached me about doing a show about her life in the front office of the Lakers. Her and Linda Rambis, the great Linda Rambis, her partner in crime, loved The Office, and they were a fan of my shows after that, and they thought we would love to see a version of that. And what's great about them as collaborators, you know, that Dave and Ike have realized in working with them, is that there's no limits, you know, in a comedy like this, which is pretty, there's like a lot of wild stuff in it. They don't give us parameters, and they're not scared about what we might do, which if someone was doing a show loosely based or loosely inspired on me, I'd be pretty protective, which isn't good for comedy. And so they've been such great partners in this. And then I come from a family that loves basketball. I grew up in Boston. My dad is a huge Celtics fan. Can't say that too loudly in this room.
Fuck Boston.
I know, but like,
Back on set.
you know, and I mean, just like Larry Bird and, you know, it's like Hondo Havlicek, JoJo White, like you love the Celtics. I grew up loving the sport. And when I worked in the Mindy Project, these two guys couldn't shut up about the Bulls. They're huge Chicago Bulls fans. And so when Jeannie had approached me and I wanted to do the show, you know, they were my first choices to work on the project. And they've been terrible. I've been saddled with them on this panel. If you could just crop them out in a photo of just the three of us, that'd be great.
It seems like a good time to ask you guys how you have such a lovely collaboration together after all this time working in collaboration on the Mindy Project, etc. It seems like you guys have a shorthand. So Ike, perhaps you could speak to how the collaboration works.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have always loved each other. I think we
Hesitated. We've always loved each
Well, I'm
other.
trying to think of a polite way to say we have the same stupid sense of humor.
Yes.
We laugh at you know, people being haughty and kind of dumb and inappropriate, and I think we have a very similar comedic sensibility. Dave and I are basically the same person, so it's really, you know, Mindy was the new thing to, you know, join our sensibility and experience.
We kind of share a brain.
There's no distinction between the two of us.
Well, they grew up together
Like
in
Tweedledee and
Chicago.
Tweedledum.
Yeah, mostly dumb. But we hadn't worked with Mindy since the Mindy Project, and we literally were always like, we miss Mindy, we miss writing with Mindy and breaking stories with her and stuff. And so when she came around with this, our first question was, let's talk money. What are we looking at for you? Right now, on a piece
You're
of
both
paper, what
motivated
we're
a lot
looking at.
by how lucrative something could be.
Yeah,
Or not.
yeah. I'm a businessman first, writer second. And if it's not a good deal, I walk. But it was, I guess.
Should we get into our deal?
You asked before what you said before, and I think we can all talk about this, but it's like been working with Kate, which no, we did. That's like what it is, and we feel so lucky to be able to work with Kate. I mean, I've written for Steve Carell, Emma Thompson, and it's so nice to work with someone who can do comedy and drama. And she is just as compelling doing this like very complicated basketball speak about an intense deal as she is walking into a glass wall, I think, which she did multiple times.
It was maybe her favorite thing to do. She ended up being the one pitching it extra some days.
You did make her do that quite a few times.
They were very worried about me when I was doing it too. I was like, guys, I got this. Part of what's fun about playing a part like this is like, you know, there's like, no, it's you know, we're kind of past the working girl era of that discovery. It's like now we're just sort of, for me, it's all more about getting validation from my brothers, who I want them to see that more the family dynamic, that I can do what our dad did. And I love too, like this, like we were talking about this all the time, like this sort of sexiness of like a woman in this world that is so testosterone filled. You can't, I mean, it's just, there's nothing more different than a woman walking into a man's locker room than anything. You know, it's like, you know, do I belong there? You know, and I think those things really play great. And
Unique about Brenda is she's so tiny and so tough, you know. And something that she has in common with Kate, and they're very different performers, is they both have to say some really rough things in the show, and they're underdogs, and people push them around, and so they have to stand up for themselves. And what's a delight as writers is people who can say tough things and you're still in their corner. We've all been on the shows where we've written for characters who have to say things that are not, you know, quote unquote, unlikable, and it doesn't come off great. It's sunk series that I've tried to get on the air, you know, and then to have someone do it and it's still so palatable, it's like they're stars. And so that's been wonderful working with those two actresses.
Brenda